lawmakers again question the integrity of next year's automated poll. Senator Miriam Santiago reveals over 100 million pesos have been spent in infomercials since last year by some government officials who plan to run in next year's elections. President Arroyo orders cabinet officials to comply with a Supreme Court order to clean up Manila Bay. Oil prices surged to their highest levels in 10 months amid growing hopes for a global economic recovery. And preliminary findings on the death of singer Michael Jackson shows the pop star died from a lethal dose of a powerful sedative. Early this month, 15 people were killed while over 2,200 families were evacuated in the wake of Typhoon Kiko. Damage to agriculture nationwide was estimated at about 18.8 million pesos, while damage to infrastructure in 4 provinces was pegged at 161 million pesos. That's just a fraction of the 15 billion pesos worth of typhoon damage that the Philippines chalks up in a year. That figure is expected to go up further, while climate change predicted to lead to worse weather disturbances. The question is the government's usual response of releasing calamity funds enough? And joining us in action this morning to tell us more about how disaster response can be addressed effectively are Kaloy Padolina, Deputy Executive Director of the Citizens Disaster Response Center, and Kila Aquino, the agency's Information and Advocacy Officer. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Well, this is very interesting to know that there is a group, an NGO, that handles disaster response also. Let us say history first of CDRC. Why did this come about, and what were the mother groups?
Yes, CDRC was started October 1984. It was came about because of the 4 major disasters that happened that year. 3 typhoons, and then major eruptions of Mayon volcano. And then from the church groups, they thought of why not coming up with an institution, because relief response is, they knew that relief response is not that sustainable. And it's very limited, short time. Yes.
Was there already an NDCC sector of the government?
Yes, actually, yes, there was already an NDCC, but even the national government response, even up to now, the response is mostly on emergency response.
Okay.
So that's why we are pushing, actually now, we are pushing for a bill to, wherein it does not only respond to emergency, but give more on disaster preparedness.
So you're talking about disaster preparedness also, not just when it happens.
Yes.
Okay. So, give us an idea of how it should work. Earlier, other co-authors were discussing how ideally some people think it should work with the local government first, because they also have the calamity fund, and then probably the province, and then it goes up to the NDCC. So how is the structure written by law right now? What's it supposed to be like?
Actually, so most of that, the LGU is the front line during emergency situation.
So the city
and then, yes, the city municipalities. Actually, if you will go down the barangay, we have the barangay disaster coordinator. Yes, they have the 5% calamity fund. And then, so once, if the 2 barangays were already affected, so they will, can declare state of calamity and ask for the municipal help, no? And then from there, from municipality, if there's a big, what do you call this, event, now the NDCC will respond or help, no, the municipal or the provincial affected. So that's the time that the 5% will be released. To them.
So now you're saying your group is pushing for this bill that would use part of this calamity funds for preparedness?
Yes.
Yung ba yung gusto niyo?
Yes, yun. Kasi ngayon, yung 5%, it's mostly on emergency relief lang talaga. There's no, unlike in the disaster preparedness, we are more on pushing to organize disaster preparedness and then by barangay, and then institutionalization of early warning system, and then conducting of barangay training drills para at least if there's, for example, no, may bagyo or there's imminent threat of floods or landslide,
There are contingencies.
may contingency, yes, may contingency ang community, and then alam nila kung ano yung kanilang gagawin.
Okay. But so technically speaking, shouldn't that be the mandate of, say, the DILG or even the NBCC?
Yes.
Isn't it part of their mandate to be acting on preparedness rather than on emergency relief?
Supposed to be sana, no? It should be done sana. Actually, part din ng aming disaster preparedness program is really to help. Actually, the bill also is really to help and strengthen, empower the structure of the LGUs.
Okay.
Kasi sila yung nasa frontline.
So in other words now, Ila, parang yung analogy dyan is right now, the system is pag may butas yung bubong, tinataparan ng seal. Rather than palitan yung bubong.
That's true. Kaya nga pinupush natin itong bill na doon. So hopefully ma-strengthen natin.
Alright, so aside from this bill, it's set aside first, and that's of course going to be pending and it'll take some time for this to happen. What is your work on the ground like? I mean, how do you guys help side by side with the LGUs, with the NBCC? When the disaster happened, where do we see the CDRC on the ground?
Last year, North Cotabato, we were there with UNICEF. We conducted a rapid assessment of the evacuation plans. And then from there, we started dealing with mga relief goods, emergencies. So we basically assess ano yung situation, and then from there, yung mga appeals, mga funders, and then saka kami nagbibigay ng mga emergency reliefs.
So that's the first response.
Yeah.
And then after the emergency response, continuous kasi yung aming assessment regarding yung damage, needs and capacity assessment dun sa community. Then after nun, once na nag-usap na namin ito, ang next na ginagawa naman namin is we organize the people. This actually yung organizing community, ito yung may strengthen yung participation and empowerment of the people in relation to disaster. So, once na meron ka ng disaster preparedness committees, ito na yung magiging vehicle mo sa community in relation to paghanap or yung mga disaster risk, yung mga risk areas, ano yung mga hazard. Yes, yung mga hazard areas. And then, from there, isa-set up ngayon sila ng mga early warning system, and then identifying what we call this community evacuation center. Ngayon kasi, di ba, if you will notice, most of our evacuation centers, mostly schools, and then, or churches. And then once yung mga schools yung ginamit, ito yung minsan nagdi-disrupt yung klase ng mga bata, which supposed to be hindi sana if we have already established evacuation centers sa mga communities. Sometimes yung mga barangay halls or community town centers, ginagamit din, kaso it's not that enough. Yes, very small. Lalo na kung if you will accommodate, let's say, 100 families, no?
Most affected is women and children.
And then mostly mga bata pa. We're in itong mga bata na to, not only 4, but most of the time 6, ano? And then sa evacuation centers, kailangan din merong special or merong specific place for the women, for the children, especially the nursing mothers, pregnant women, ano, kasi iba yung mga needs din ng mga these special groups, special sectors, no, compared dun sa the whole community.
So would you say that your work is more also, you go deep into the community as opposed to the government or in the Japan aid na just give you the funds you need, the food, the shelter, but they don't actually have a relationship with the communities?
Yeah, it's one of the strengths talaga. Like for example, when we were able to give the emergency relief last year, it wouldn't be that effective kung wala kami mga organized communities dun sa area. So within the evacuation center, meron talagang volunteers. So alam nila, sinisituate na the relief right, a number of reliefs are given to the right